Hey everybody, it's Tori.
And Nathan.
And today we're talking to you about how to plan your road trip around Ireland.
So the three biggest topics that we want to hit on this video is number one, how do you get around? Number two, what are you trying to get around to see? And number three, where do you stay to sleep while you're getting around? All right?
So number one is transportation that we want to talk about for how to plan your road trip to Ireland. Okay, so really you have two options here. You can either do car or bus.
So let's just weigh the two options. You can get bus trips around Ireland with a lot of different companies, and they're great for the reason that you don't have to do a lot of legwork on figuring out where you want to go, where you want to see things, where you want to stay. They plan out the route, they take care of you, they have drivers and guides, and they take you everywhere and they show you everything. So it's simple, but we don't think it's the best option if you're trying to go out and venture and see things and get to kind of the off the beaten path feel. So when you take a car, I mean, obviously you're gonna have a lot more freedoms. You choose where you go, you choose when you want to go, and you just got the total mobility that a car gives you. You can change plans at the last minute and you decide to do something else, and that's totally fine.
And stay at places as long as you want.
Right.
As well.
One other thing about the bus trips that I would say, if you're thinking about one, just keep in mind that when they stop at a site, oftentimes they'll let you off and say you have exactly 10 minutes, take as many pictures as you can, and then get back on the bus.
Yeah.
And that does not work for our style of travel because we want to stay at certain sites, maybe 2 or 3 hours, you know, and get a full experience and go explore, go see every single thing that we could there.
So just weigh those two options, pick which one works best for you. We're gonna go ahead and assume in this video that you chose car because that's what we did, so that's really what we have experience with. So we rented a car through Dooley because they were some of the only car rental companies in Ireland that will rent to young drivers. Because Nathan and I are both under 25, and so we're both considered a young driver for renting a car. All of your main rental car services in Ireland wouldn't rent to us, but Dooley would, and I think another one was Conn's Car Rental, which is run through Hertz. They're another good one that a lot of people like to use.
Another few things you need to consider when you do your car rental in Ireland is, do you want a manual or do you want an automatic car? So we paid extra to get the automatic because there's not as many of them in the fleets. So you do have to be careful. You might not get one if you don't plan on it.
And also just remembering that in Ireland they drive on the opposite side of the road as they do here in America and in most of the rest of the world. So if you're not used to driving a stick shift, then that could throw in a whole new element for you that you have to get comfortable driving a stick shift on the opposite side of the road and turning the opposite way. So those are just things you want to be mindful of when you're planning to rent your car.
And that was part of my decision, is just because I could do a stick shift with my right hand does not mean I could do it with my left. Now, for directions, you can always rent a car that has a GPS unit installed. We didn't plan on doing that, but they actually included one for free because that was the only cars they had a GPS in it. But we found that it actually didn't work as well as Google Maps offline. If you've downloaded the maps ahead of time for Google Maps offline, and you can do that for an entire chunk of a country or a state or whatever, and it'll have all those directions saved, and it'll tell you those directions in real time, just like a GPS using data would.
Okay, so the next aspect of planning a road trip to Ireland is figuring out what it is exactly that you want to see in Ireland, planning out the sites that you want to see. So what we did was we got a really good travel book and read through it, looked online, got inspiration, and just picked out the different things that we wanted to see, got a map, printed out a map, wrote down and marked where they all were, and then just kind of planned our route around the country that way. And it ended up being in a giant ring around Ireland. Yeah,
it actually for some reason turned out that most everything we wanted to see happened to be either on a coast or near a coast. So we were able to kind of just go around the outer edge of Ireland. And most of the tourist attractions are somehow on that route.
Yeah, and that's how a lot of people plan. There are two different ways if you plan your route along the edge. You can either from Dublin go up north or go down south. People do it both different ways. We chose to go north because there's more things that we wanted to see, and that just worked better for our route. But people do go south and around all the time.
And so another part of planning all these things that you want to see, so what we did is we used our travel guide, Rick Steve's travel guide, and then we also used online resources to decide what we want to see. And then we also were able to use that to figure out the times that they were open, the dates they were open. Sometimes things might be closed on Sundays. You got to make sure of that. So check for the times, the dates, the prices, whether or not they have parking, if they have guided tours, what times do the tours start, do they start hourly, all those things. Those are things that if you learn those things in advance, that can help you maximize your time there.
So much smoother.
Sometimes, even when we planned it out, we couldn't time it perfectly, and we'd show up to something and we had to wait an hour and a half before the tour started. And that was always so annoying because that's a chunk of that time wasted.
Yeah.
Because you're only in this foreign country on a vacation for a certain amount of time, so every hour is precious. So the more planning you do, the more time you're going to have while you're there.
And of course you want to leave flexibility for things, so don't be rigidly stuck to what your schedule says that you should be. Just take it relaxed. There were several days where we would get to an attraction and it was so much more amazing than we thought it was going to be in our heads, and so we ended up staying there longer and just cut out something else that was happening that afternoon. So you just kind of have to go with the flow as you would when you're traveling anywhere, and just follow a general guide and have a plan in mind, but not be afraid to detour from the plan if need be.
Right. One last tip for as you're planning all the things you want to see is don't just go off of one travel guide. So while the Rick Steves travel guide is great, one of our favorite things that we saw on the trip, Sleeve League Cliffs, was not in his book. And if we had only gone by his book, we never would have known about that, and we would have missed one of the coolest things we could have done in Ireland. So always double check, go through multiple resources and to make your list. And now the third point is lodging. All right, so where are you gonna stay while you're in Ireland? Now, if you're like us, we love Airbnb, and that actually works out great if you're trying to plan a road trip, because it's a lot easier to book single nights in different locations than if you're trying to go through hotels. So you can look into hotels, but we found that Airbnbs ended up being a lot cheaper per person than a hotel would have been. And honestly, they were in better areas and closer to the things that we wanted to see.
We don't have to tell you about Airbnb because you can just go look at it yourself, but they really are amazing and have all different types of houses, from farms into deep city apartments. Like, you can get a variety for anybody, big, small, every price range. So we love them, highly recommend them.
Yeah, and if you haven't actually used Airbnb before and you're interested in doing so, go click the link down in the description. That's our referral code, and it will get you $40 off your first trip. Another cool thing about using Airbnb is if you have a larger group of people. So we traveled in a group of 5, and it ended up that we were always able to get our lodging to be $30 per person on average per night, right? So we might stay in a place for one night that was 150 bucks, but you split it 5 ways. That is super cheap. So
we want to show you guys what exactly our itinerary looked like and how we planned our route around Ireland. That way, just to give you an example and something to go off of, so that maybe you can look up and see the sites that we saw and see if it's something you think that you would be interested in planning as well. So here's our itinerary.
Day 1, land in Dublin. We saw Guinness Factory, Trinity College, and Dublin Castle. Stayed in Dublin Sunday night. Day 2, get up, drive north out of Dublin. We hit up Bruneboyne and Giant's Causeway in Northern Ireland, then drove west to our Airbnb in Donegal to crash Monday night.
That was a long day.
That was a very long day. Day 3, wake up in Donegal, go see Sleeve League Cliffs, come back to Donegal, see Donegal Castle, drive south to Galway, sleep in Galway at the Airbnb there. Day 4, wake up in Galway, spend the day enjoying Galway and kind of getting a break.
Best day.
And also day 4, that night, staying in Galway as well. So we stayed 2 nights in Galway.
Yes, which was a good break. Good to plan a little break in there.
Day 5, wake up in Galway, drive south to see the Cliffs of Moher, all the wee caves, and then we drove to Killarney. Stayed in Killarney in the Airbnb that night. Day 6, wake up in Killarney, go see the Ring of Kerry, go back to our Killarney Airbnb and sleep again that night. So 2 nights in Killarney as well. Day 7, wake up in Killarney, start driving east to go back to Dublin, but on the way we stop and see the Rock of Cashel. Yep, and then we headed to Dublin for day 7, slept there at an Airbnb that night. Day 8, woke up, drove to the airport, boom, we're gone.
Okay, well, awesome. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I know it was jam-packed with information, but hopefully you found little tidbits that were helpful. And if you did, then please comment and let us know, because we had a great time in Ireland and we would love to hear about the trip that you're planning and if this video helped you at all.
And if there's something that you were wondering that we didn't answer, some question you have, leave it in the comments. We will make sure we reply to any questions. We'd love to help you out. We're super passionate about travel, and the goal of our channel is to help you travel as well.
Absolutely. And if you like our content, then please go subscribe to our channel. We celebrate every subscriber, and we would love to have you join our community. Thanks so much, guys. Bye. I keep yawning. Like 5 times I've had to hold it yawn. I'm worried my face is like...